The Turks and Caicos Islands public service sector will see some internal changes as the newly appointed chief executive of the sector and high-ranking UK senior civil servant Martin Stanley takes office. Stanley was approached in April of this year to join the governor as he regulates the Turks and Caicos government and has been in the country since June. In this exclusive interview with News 4 this morning, he spoke about his plans.
I think that it's a very mixed bag. I have to say I've been very impressed by the quality of many of the civil servants and public servants I've met, especially the senior ones. You know, they're very dedicated people. They've had a horrendous time over the last 2 or 3 years, very difficult situation they've been in, and I'm really looking forward to working with them. I hear all sorts of anecdotes about problems in some areas of the public service, so I think the truth is there's some good parts, some bad parts. We have to work hard on the bad parts. We have to build up the good parts.
Okay, what are some of those bad parts, and what would you say are some of the good parts?
Well, there's clearly a lot of issues in the kind of border control area, immigration, problems with illegal immigrants, delays in the belongers office. That sort of issue keeps being mentioned to me. And in fact, one of the first things I think we'll be doing, it's not definite yet, but I think very likely, is creating a new ministry to actually look at border control and actually bring all those sort of issues together in one place, and also get the right resources in there, the right quality of staff, and see if we can improve the quality of service to the TCI public. I think that's an area that people are very concerned about. And the other area is a more general one, which is financial control. There's been very little financial control over the last 2 or 3 years. We have to get some systems in, know what we're spending, and make sure we don't spend too much.
The economic recession is visibly pounding the TCI, and the tourism industry is expected to take a downturn spin this year. Still unsure as to how he will generate revenue back into the financially wrecked treasury, Stanley said income taxes will not be likely, but international experts may be imported to find ways of raising funds. His aim is to turn the public sector around using his vast expertise entirely through the permanent secretaries of various departments. But what does this mean? Will there be downsizing or salary cuts? Stanley said no.
I don't have any kind of major changes like that in mind, I have to say. I think that the truth is there are many areas where I think public servants are probably underpaid, frankly. Certainly areas where they're understaffed, and we have to build and support those areas and those people. There's other areas where people are not busy, a lot of stepping out, poor service to the public, and in those areas I think we have to tackle those issues. If people aren't working very hard, don't have jobs, then they will have to go. But I don't think you can generalise and say across the public service jobs are going to go or salaries are going to be cut. I think that would be quite wrong. I want to leave the public service here stronger and a great place to work, not the opposite.
So more than likely we might see some sort of repositioning of people in different departments.
Exactly, yes.
According to him, the Public Service Commission, despite his appointment, will remain intact as they act as a safeguard for civil servants, and he will be readily liaising with them as a sense of leadership. Some 3 months ago, many civil servants were in breach of the Public Service Ordinance for exceeding their 5-year term for housing allowance, which was revoked by the Ministry of Finance. Here's what Stanley had to say about that.
I mean, the truth is that these housing allowances and many other allowances have become a substitute for salary. As I mentioned earlier, I think some salaries are very low, and in order to give people a decent standard of living, allowances have been allowed to run on way beyond the time they're supposed to. So I think another of the many things we have to do over the coming months is sort out the remuneration structure, get the salaries right, and not depend so much on allowances. In the short term, there was a proposal to get rid of the housing allowances for those who'd already had them for 5 years or more. And what I was involved in was a discussion about whether that was fair. We decided in the end it wasn't fair for the very lowest paid, and they are getting a smaller allowance, but a monthly allowance to help them through the coming months. So we're trying to, as ever, make change but not hurt people. It's not always possible to get it dead right, but we're trying very hard.
Okay, do you think you guys are going to encounter the same problems last month? A lot of civil servants were sort of protesting, putting on public demonstrations because they couldn't get paid from the Turks and Caicos Treasury?
Yeah, well, the problem is we've just about run out of money. I really do not like having civil servants and all public servants paid late. It's bad for morale, and it keeps money out of the economy as well, so it's bad for all sorts of reasons. I hope very much that we can get back to paying on time. I can't promise it this month or next month, but you know, the finances, as I've said already, sorting out the finances has to be top priority, and paying civil servants, paying public servants, and paying bills as well, you know, is very important.
Other reforms will also be on government departments located in private buildings that over the years have been a hefty expense. Too, scholarships will be lessened. In the next 3 months, Turks and Caicos Islanders will see complete restructuring throughout different ministries, a change in the work ethic of civil servants, and stronger policy making. Stanley's powers are wide-ranging.
I think if it's a managerial change, change to structures and so on, I think I've got the power to make those changes myself. Certainly, staff appraisal, staff movement, staff dismissals will be within my power. What's very important is that the big policy issues, the things that are going to affect the man and woman in the street, we, as a government service, generate ideas, generate proposals, take them to the consultative forum, take them to the advisory council, take them to the public. I think I'd like to see a lot more consulting with the public about what's happening in these islands and where these islands should go in policy terms. And then finally the governor will make his decision. But I think the process will be much more transparent in future. Again, that's my skill, getting good consultation, good analysis, and at the end of the day, much better decision making.
There were numerous questions asked in the lengthy exclusive with Stanley, and one of them that we were anxious to find out is what will happen to the luxury Range Rovers that former ministers have been driving, and we discovered that they're about to be parked, if not already.
Well, one of the first things the governor did on Friday was to send a note out to permanent secretaries saying, and to ministers, saying papers have to be surrendered, vehicles have to be surrendered, and so on. So again, one of the jobs in the first 2 or 3 days of this week is to make sure that that's happened. So you shouldn't see any ex-ministers driving around in those big black cars.
Okay, so what are you going to do with the Range Rovers? We've heard a lot of rumors. We've heard they were going to be sold, auctioned.
Yeah, I don't think it's been decided, but I think most likely they'll be sold off in one way or another. We'll try and get the most money for them. I'm certainly not going to drive around in a big black car.
In October, Stanley will hand over his post to Deputy Governor of Bermuda, Mark Capes, who was also previously Deputy Governor of Anguilla and head of the public service there. Capes served as Deputy Chief Secretary in Providenciales from 1991 to 94 and visited the territory several times. Nikira John, WIV4 News.